Good morning. My name is Claudio. I've been doing some work. You probably have heard me mention some things regarding the Forge for the past few months. So I get it. It takes some time. I'll start the presentation of why I do it for myself first. Then I will follow up with some requests that I have gathered from people via email, via discussions, and a lot of discussions that have happened over here at the Cauldron I'm very grateful for. And then I'll give you a quick tour of what Forgejo offers and what is missing and what has been done about it. That guy was me in '95. I'm going to regret posting this picture publicly, I guess. I started using GNU Linux in '95, GCC about a year afterwards. I had no idea what that was. I was proud because that monitor had not emitted smoke, and for those of you that were there, you know that the X-Window system could do that. I was thirsty for knowledge, and free software has changed my life because it gave a world of knowledge to me, whether it was the how to the Linux documentation project or Linux Weekly News. That is such an amazing trove of information. For various reasons, I never managed to work on free software projects. The opportunity arose about a year and a half ago, and I joined the GNU team in ARM. Then this guy showed up. And sleep deprivation became the norm. And I had no longer the energy to read up on all those wonderful bits of information that are out there. And I realized, oh wait, that's what my parents had difficulty with. And why am I putting this up here? It's because I understand one thing viscerally, and it's that change is hard. It's hard because we've got a wonderful creature like that in our lives, or it's because we've got other things to do, and in order to get change to happen, we need to take into account everyone's needs, and maybe something like that. From my personal perspective, starting work on a code base like GCC when you're a new parent is hard. It's an enormous change. And there's value in that change. I'm learning again. It's amazing to meet all of you and learn from you. But email, for patch management, is a change on top of that change. And try as I might, I can't see the same value in this change. That's my personal reason. A lot of people have provided their own reasons. Richard, he sits across the room from me. He has this elaborate workflow. He needs to read hundreds of emails. He needs to categorize everything. He needs to make sure that everything that he asks gets taken care of. And he's drowning in email. Using the corporate email system sucks. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. He wants something where he can keep track of everything that has to do with a review together so that he doesn't have to hunt for information or set up an elaborate workflow. And that's the perspective of a seasoned maintainer. Jonathan Wakely, he's tried to use the Forge, and he's worried that it's currently only usable by people who already have Git write access. We want to change that, and hopefully we'll find a way to do that sooner rather than later. And he would like it to be not just one way, he would like it to be possible to easily push back to the real repository, because right now it's nowhere. Richard, I hope I'm quoting you correctly. He worries that introducing the Forge is going to split the community. That may happen if we don't take care of each other. And the worry is that it can make it harder to follow more threads than before. Kirill, he asked for ability to connect the AI agents that his team uses. I mean, it's NVIDIA, right? And he finds use in structured data. Alexandra, he was a passionate proponent of the email workflow. You know, it's not that bad if you're used to it. And he would like it to work well with Emacs. And I really don't want to be forced to use some JavaScript that does weird things on my browser. And I hear you. That's a very reasonable worry. Testing on RISC-V, on S390, somehow that should be possible. Bringing in new contributors, make it easy, remove barriers for entry. David Malcolm, CI along with the patches. Don't make it hard for me to see if a patch is actually not breaking anything. And yeah, that's my fault. The bot that I've written up to now produces this large wall of text that doesn't help anyone. We can change that. Tamar, he is rightly worried that as a middle-end maintainer, if he wants to change something, he then needs to get okays from all the back-end maintainers. And if you use a very simple workflow for PRs, that's not going to work. So I get it when people say, don't make the workflows blocking. That's a very good reason not to make them blocking, because some people's requirements are not met by simple things. And Andrew clearly said, yeah, let's not take 5 years to do this, please. I think maybe we stand a chance. If you're a maintainer, if you're a user, if these things are not covering your needs, reach out to me. The main thing is that first thing up there. Don't take away my ability to contribute and to be informed via email, right? We can't make any change unless we take this into account. We can't make any change unless we take people's views and needs into account. So there's a page on the GNU Wiki called Forge Experiment, where I think it was Richard Erishaw that started it. And I've tried to put in as much information, as many needs that I have managed to get my hands on. Joseph Myers wrote a great email about what this should look like. It's a lot of stuff to digest. And I've tried to unpack it into a more manageable bullet point list, right? And I've made it a list. It's now my requirements list in what I've done up to now. And I'll keep adding to it based on what people tell me. Important things. Not everyone wants to be on board. That's fine. The system should meet the ethical repository criteria. It's not 100% there yet. Is that fine? Yes? Microphone?
Sorry, I just wanted to address the line before you say where each project decides how, when, if to move. And it's move that's caught me. I would rather be work with, but still be able to use the old system, not have to stop the old system, move to the new system.
That is how it was worded. I agree with you.
The problem is, that one-way point that Jonathan made, that's in conflict with that, because if you have the Forge own control of the repository, then you have to interact with it in some way. So it depends on where you host it.
We'll see.
We'll see.
That's
probably ways around.
We can figure it out together. The tool that we use, be it Forgejo or whatever, it should be receptive to adding features that we need. We want structured data. We love our emails, but they are not structured. We need more structure. And we want to have some of the existing automation, the ADA hooks, I'm told that they have value, apparently. We want to keep them. Not as they are right now, but we want the functionality to be there. I don't want to discount everything that everyone has told me, but I needed to focus on something, and these three things are what I think stood out. It needs to have API support for custom tooling. We need something that maintains rebased revisions of changes, and we want to have good plain text email notification of significant actions. Right? Details on what good means mean that we need to have more control of what the emails look like.
So I think in the steering committee session, it was mentioned like that commit messages could refer with links to Forge, review, discussion, and whatever. We have to think about how much of a login of our data a Forge is, like with emails. You have mboxes you can download. It's very easy to process that. But if the Forge vanishes and my commit logs refer to something that doesn't exist anymore, so we have to kind of make sure that preservation guarantee is there, either by not having a hyperlink, but posting that to mailing lists and keeping that way of having it in one place, or by, I'm not sure how you guarantee that in 100 years we can still refer back to discussions.
Give me credit for a few slides and I'll give an answer. If that's okay. Hold on to that, because I've got that. I think I've got that covered.
I think that would be additional new functionality because we don't really have that at the moment. I fully agree that this would be very useful, but we don't have a guarantee that our email archives will be there in 100 years.
I don't have copies of most mboxes of GCC patches.
I can download them all with public
I hear you. Yeah. So what's available today? What does Forgejo right now provide? Free, as in freedom, and we care about that. Familiar user experience for most developers today. If you want to, it can integrate Backtracker and Wiki. We're not doing that. That's another thing for a future time. CI, email notifications, basic ones. Friendly Forge format is there's a project called Friendly Forge format that allows you to extract all the data from the Forge and store it in an archival format. It's essentially JSON files, giving you all the PRs, all the discussions, everything that has happened in between. Between that and the repository, you have everything. So you can extract all the data. It's not in a, I mean, there is complexity in the format, but it's not a hidden thing.
So only the hyperlinks break.
Hyperlinks can break.
I just want to note something with what Richie was saying, is that right now you can work offline.
Yes.
And having that with the Forge workflow is going to be a bit difficult, even if you have the JSON dumps, because you'd have to, I don't know what tooling there is, you'd have to run a local instance and import it. I don't know what the offline side looks like. I know that you do a lot on the train, I think. I don't know how important that is to people, but I think it's worth keeping in mind.
Yeah.
It's like I can grab my mbox archives, right? I can probably grab the JSON, but
Yeah, it's not like the local mbox tooling is that good, right? Mbox is wacky.
It works for me.
But yeah, me too. I also use local mbox stuff, but like, it's not like there's any magic there.
No.
I'm not going to hide from that. You are not going to be able to use this system unless you have an active internet connection to it. Or you need to take additional measures that you may want to think about. How do you want to deal with this fetch the data locally, come up with an answer while you're on the plane, and then post it on the Forgejo thing. It's not email. It is not email. I will give you that.
Yeah. So my main concern was with the idea to put hyperlinks into the Git commits as a way to do information retrieval, because a hyperlink to me, if it's, for example, like having CGI, question mark, magic, whatever, that's very likely to break. Like you update your Forgejo instance and all those hyperlinks break, for example. I can only guess. Like we should avoid doing this kind of thing and have other means of permanently archiving the relation of repository commit to discussion on the commit. And currently there's the email.
Yeah, if you look at QEMU, they use some unique ID to do the mapping, if that makes sense. That's in the system, and then you're meant to write a URL manually if you want to open it from a web browser. Like, that's a manageable.
There are, so the underlying bits of information are related to the repository. The URLs, the way that they are structured, are using the same structure that GitHub has maintained for the past, when was it created? When was it started? I think it was at least 20 years ago or something like that. No, it's too much. That's too much. At least 10 years. The structure of those URLs has been stable for the past 10 years. So unless someone takes over the Sourceware domain name, I don't see them changing.
Yeah, but go on. I think, and we could do a URL redirector like we have for Bugzilla. Do you refer to the Bugzilla URLs in your commits as the Bugzilla URL or the /br, or
I
just
have the ID and I can look up the ID.
Yeah.
okay?
So
So
if I have a merge request ID,
Yeah, you can get a.
Okay.
case the Forge vanishes, I can
That's what
and materialize in some other way are those IDs. We need to make sure that those IDs remain
Yeah.
valid.
Every pull request is uniquely identifiable by three values: the organization, the repository, and the pull request ID. One of the great features of Forgejo is the idea of having a federated scheme where multiple forges can cross-link these things. It's not there yet, but the basic idea is that you can identify these things. Now, if the URL is not 100% stable, you need these three bits of information, and they uniquely identify. So they are not UUIDs, but they've been good enough for quite a lot of projects for a while. That and other things. I'm not saying that Forgejo is perfect. I think there's a question there. I'm not saying that Forgejo is perfect. The emails are not that good. There's microphones.
Microphones here.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering what the context here is, because as someone on the fringe of the GCC community, if I read the commits and then see something interesting and want to find the mailing list discussion, I often can't find it. Maybe that is the commit was approved on IRC, I don't know. But so my question is this a hard requirement that the tracking improves, or is it just preserving a level of tracking that is there today? Because right now I don't think there's a hard requirement that everything can be tied back to a mailing list discussion.
I think that having a forge, having a discussion on the forge, potentially makes it easier to track the discussions, because the way that these systems are structured start with the conversation.
Yeah, right.
from my perspective, it's a tragedy that proprietary software in GitHub has taken away the primacy of how to create consensus in free software projects. Why are we not learning from some people that have taken the idea of, it's conversation. If you look at the first thing that you see in PRs, it's conversation. It's about building consensus. It's not the code. That's secondary in some ways. Code can be traced back to conversations because it's the conversations that matter more. And I think that by moving to something like Forgejo, we stand a chance of improving the way that we communicate as a community. But that's my personal view in some ways. It's not shared by everyone. Yes?
Well, the first thing is I don't think Andrew is going to get his, can we do this in less than 5 years? But it seems to me, the problem seems to be there's two camps. One is obviously the email, one is the Forge. They're very strongly against each other. With the Forge being the newcomer, I think it has to maybe yield a little bit, but to get that to happen, you'll probably have to get some of the people on the email workflow to try out the Forge and not necessarily switch to it, obviously, straight away, but point out the problems and create a feature list that they wish to get to. So you're going to have to work on a hybrid model for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, Richie, for example, to give the Forge a go for 1 or 2 patches, small ones or something, see how it works, create a feature list, and eventually you'll be able to amalgamate both and get what you want from email and from the Forge.
Definitely.
So just a quick comment on that. So I'm not fearing so much that I will lose stuff when other people move to Forge, but it's like when I start the day, I go over all mails in GCC patches. I discard a lot of them, or rather, I archive them because I'll be able to search them, right? But some of them get very quick responses from me and get a comment or even an approval. If there's a Forge, it probably doesn't happen to those patches, so those people will lose, not me. And I fear like we are splitting the community into those that get quick feedback from me because I have the single view of everything that happened since yesterday, and I don't have to click it's through all old PRs. Maybe there was a comment added to the old one. Like so possibly we can forward every notification to GCC patches. If they are high quality, I wouldn't mind that. If it's like the notification systems from systems inside SUSE, I know, those get filtered into either Dev0 or because they're just annoying. Like you get 4 notifications for the very same thing that says nothing, right?
Give me credit for a moment. Let me show you the proposal first, and then I think. So these things are missing. We'll agree that it's not perfect. So let me move on from this. How can we extend it? Because that's important. The native way of doing it in Forgejo is to use runners. You need to have hardware. So stakeholders, you've got hardware that depends on this. Please provide hardware resources so that we can run CI on these things. Actions are essentially scripts that run in containers, and they allow you to do all sorts of things when some events occur. It can be someone has opened an issue. It can be someone has pushed a change. Someone has created a pull request. Someone wants to create a release, and you want it to be done automatically. Done. Or you want something to happen regularly, or you want a button where you can get something done without having to think too much about it. Christoph Leon has created one of the first actions. He added a check. So when you create a pull request on the GCC test repository, this action is going to run the GNU style checker and the GCC verify check for you. So you get to see if your formatting is not up to snuff. Thank you, Mark, for providing the hardware for that. Thankfully, it's a very small check. We need more hardware to do more complex checks, but it's not so hard. Christoph has also enabled the Linaro CI checks on new pull requests. So you don't have to create a Forgejo action. You have your system, it can check using the API for new pull requests and run some stuff whenever you think you want something to happen. He starts the existing Linaro CI checks, takes the outcome and posts it as a message on the pull request itself. So you get CI and the change and the conversation in one place. But that's not good enough when you want to integrate Forgejo to Mailman. Neither of those solutions were a great fit. And so I searched for something similar. And there's a tool called Git-Git-Gadget. So the author of that tool has done something quite brave, in my opinion. He tried to bring the Git project to use something like GitHub. I think he tried to do it in a way that did not fit the culture of the project so well, and it had two terminal flaws. One flaw is that it requires you to have cloud provider accounts where you can run some things. You can't just run it on your own workstation. You can't test it yourself. And the other terminal flaw is it's written in JavaScript. So how about no? Maybe it's a little bit better. It's not to everyone's taste, but I guess it's less controversial. So how can we make this happen? Whenever something happens in Forgejo, a webhook is called. It's an HTTP request to a server that's written in Python. It sends information such as, I don't know, Richie created a pull request where he's added a new pass or something. And this Python code calls back into Forgejo and gets a little bit more information. And based on what happened, it can take actions such as adding a message, a welcome message, or posting emails to Mailman. It's called Vatrachomiomachia.
Can you repeat that, please?
It's Vatrachomiomachia, half Greek. It's a poem. It's a satirical poem from the 5th century BC. And it's about the epic battle between mice and frogs on who would be the strongest in the pond. A bit like what we're seeing today, right? It doesn't have to be a battle. That guy is called Lichenor. I did not choose the name. It's one of the characters over there. So you'll see that character in the workflow. So this is what Christoph did recently when he added the request to add the so-called sanity checks. How you do it is you've got an account on the Forge, you fork the GCC test repository on your local fork, you create a new patch, just like everyone does on GitHub and GitLab. You put your changes in that, and then you create a pull request. The bot will see that, and it will send you a welcome message. I hear you. It is too verbose. The second time you see it, you're going like, oh, not again. I get it. Additionally, Christoph has added those lovely Linaro bots, and he gets that. And in the pull request conversation, that's me. If you read that username, you know that it's me here. You get some pull requests, you get some code review. Please change this, please do that, and you figure it out. And then someone must allow the person who is creating this pull request to interact with the bot. You only need to ask anyone who has done this before. It's not, oh, I really need to know that you are Richie. It's only about making sure that you're not a spam bot. Okay? So let's not make it what it's not. Once you've been allowed to do something, you can write a /preview comment or a /submit comment. And what the bot will do is it will create two refs on the repository from the beginning and the end of your commit series. Yes?
I think the most important command that the bot should say you are allowed to do now is the preview command, because it just says allow and submit. So you're not telling someone who's completely new that they can preview something before they submit. So just a quick feedback, you should have the preview command there as well in the reply, like in the previous slide.
Yes. Let me know later because I'm not going to remember it now. Okay, yeah. Thank you. And that's the first version of your change series. And what typically, and if you write, this happens both if you do preview and submit. It stores a version. And if you type preview and you have not blocked your email in Forgejo, you will get the patch series on your inbox. If you type submit, it will go to the proper mailing list. This is not what's happening today, and probably will enable it at some point in the very near future because we did not want to spam the mailing list without asking people their opinions. And then you get some reviews, and someone tells you, oh, you need to make a change. So you need to rebase, and you need to change your patches. And then you force push, and then you hit submit again. And the bot is going to create 2 new refs, and that's version 2 of your patch series. And it's going to keep track of these pull request versions. And it's going to tell you these are the commits here, because right now Forgejo does not track them adequately. And it's going to post the patches for you in the mailing list. And it's going to remember the previous message ID so that it's going to be a reply to the previous patch series. And you can keep better track of things. Huh? It's not going to work. It's going to make Thunderbird hate you, but Inbox loves it. So yeah, opinions on that?
Okay, so I'm not a GCC person, I'm a kernel developer, so this is at least from the kernel side, and we hate when people do a new version on the previous version because a lot of people in their inboxes look at once I'm like, okay, this version's done, I just close it and then, or just take the whole thread and just archive it. So if you're attaching it, I end up archiving all the versions. So we always tell people a new version should always start a new thread. I mean, we would like to have a link to the old one, but as long as there's an option to do that.
That's the bit where it helps to have the steering committee or some consensus building system to come up with which one would you like to have.
In GCC, we don't generally do that. Very rare.
Yes, I got 2 people. I hear you. I hear you. It's not a representation, though, right? There is no formal mechanism for getting people's views.
Mailing list.
Right? If you care, either way, we can. How about this? We send an email to the GCC mailing list. Loudest voice wins, I guess. Right? And whatever it is, it can be done. It's a flag in the configuration of this bot. Yes, per repository. Or we can even do it per, I don't know, for libs, per label. Right?
I like to do it per mail receiver.
Patch is welcome. So, yeah. What now?
So I have a question.
And I'll give space over to Mark, because I've been talking too much.
Is the time for questions?
Yes.
Yeah. So could you go back to one of your first slides about maintainer requests, I think?
Which one?
Before that.
This is the first one, Richard?
No, then more, you had a feature list, one among which was GNU ethical hosting criteria.
GNU ethical repository guidelines, yes.
Yes. In having discussion about Forge process and switching to Forge, I would urge us to differentiate about hosting for users so that the users have freedom to avoid JavaScript and everything else, and development process for us. Because I think it's called GNU ethical hosting criteria. It's not GNU ethical development criteria. So I can see us using JavaScript in our development process and putting that in a place, putting the result of development in a place accessible with no JavaScript, like just a plain Git protocol.
I've been reading the repository criteria. Oh, no, you can't see it. Is this it? Yeah, there we go. Reality is, Forgejo does not meet the criteria if you are very strict about it. However, they are the second best project in that regard. I think the first best project is SourceHut, because it is completely adherent to it. The second best one is Forgejo, because if you look, they have gone out of their way to remove any non-free JavaScript. They do provide minimified JavaScript, and technically they do not adhere to the FSF extension that allows you to perfectly track licensing of JavaScript that hits your browser. So it's not technically there, but they are aware and they do their best.
My point is that from the development process of view, this should not even be an issue for us, because this is for the users, that users should be able to download GNU toolchain ethically. For us, maybe we choose to follow with this, maybe we don't.
To not be ethical? No, sorry. I do think we kind of skipped over one of the things that are still missing, which is basically the command line tools and Emacs integration. Those aren't there yet. I believe you had a slide with URLs to projects, but you don't really have to use the web interface. Just like we kind of made it great for bots, there are also command line tools to interact with the repository, and you can do most things with, I believe it was FJO, is the one I used. You just give it, you just generate a token on the Forge, put it in, and then you can interact with it. A bit like how you can interact with Patchwork. I don't know if people use the command line interface for Patchwork.
You see Patchwork? You see Patchwork?
Patchwork, yeah.
Yes, I use it.
Okay, and is using the command line tool for that great? Probably not.
I have scripts.
Yeah.
So for Patchwork, when I have things that monitor email coming in that will actually update the status of the patches in Patchwork, depending on emails. And even I subscribe to whenever Linus pulls anything into his repository, I get an email, which is 10,000 emails like every month or so. And but no, I monitor it. So when I check everything, it's like, okay, this is something that belongs to one of my code. I'll send it to my Patchwork and have it automatically update saying this has been accepted, this has been accepted, this has been accepted.
Okay, yeah, so you could do that. The accepted part can be done by one of the bots already, I think. But the command line tools aren't great, but I hope now that more projects are adopting Forgejo, you can use the command line tools instead of the web interface.
So I have a question on the process. So I saw the email patch submission. When I replied to that and say, okay, what happens?
You reply to that.
But does it show up on the PR?
No.
Does it, so is there any, so how does approval work?
That's why I was asking today, what is okay from a...
It's about approval, it's about comment anyway.
I agree. Yes, I've got that. Where are we? There we are. So if you go to the Forge and you pass the test and you go here and you go here and there's a pull request and where is it? There we go. So you get the walls of text as we've mentioned. There you go. So the fact that you have the Forge does not mean that we automatically have to ignore what happens in the mailing list. The idea is you use this automation to make your patch on the Forge visible on the mailing list, and you get immediate access to the inbox. It is the patch author's responsibility to listen to both sides.
But the thing is, if you go to the pull request to say, oh, I wonder why Richie did that, why did he break this? And you read through, you're going to miss any comments that someone made after the fact. It's annoying. There's no point in checking the pull request side if you're going to have to check the mail list as well. Or there is a point, but it's awkward.
There is a point, though.
Yeah, but
The point is, if you want to create unity between these two communities, you need to listen to both. There's no way out of this. There's also...
Sorry, I have the mic, so I want to go first.
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is specifically for glibc. I don't know how it is.
Please.
Can I go?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is specifically for glibc. I don't know how it was with the other communities, but we have reviewed bytes, and we have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how this will play with that. Because if you are going to be able to commit to the repository from here, based on whatever conversation, the reviewed by needs to be reflected in the commit message, and then that's actually a change to the patch as far as many of these Forge tools go. And then I think like Rishi was saying earlier, that we cannot lose all this sort of metadata that we care about. I know that reviewed by is a string inside the commit message, and approved inside the Forge is a button, but the reviewed by string needs to be there because at least a lot of people care about it. So
I have left that thing open and not defined in this automation. That's the bit where each project decides how they want to deal with this. There is nothing stopping the glibc community from adding some automation to this bit of Python that says, if one of the maintainers types /approve or grab all the people that have done reviews and do the merging. This is, I have not done this. I did not have the time to do this, right?
So maybe it's kind of good. So at the moment, what was focused on is people experiment on the Forge. They have some discussions there, but the end result is kind of the patches to the mailing list, where the real stuff happens. That's how it is now. We could also introduce something that goes the other way from the mailing list to the Forge, but it kind of depends on what you think is the authoritative thing, because once we mix them, it gets harder. But we could do that. You could, for example, like Patchwork does, import everything posted to the list as a merge request on the Forge.
So what that means to clarify...
Wait. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I was waiting for a while to talk about this. That's why I got a bit... Anyway, does this mean that it's more like a place to just submit the patches and then the conversation and even the pushing of it, everything happens the old way? Is that what it is like now?
This is what it is today.
Yeah.
That's great. I think.
Okay. We did something good.
Sorry?
Whom does it help?
Not drop.
You still need email, and people told guys, email is
It,
too old.
it helps people like me not having to set up git send email. It really doesn't work for me.
It's very different from the organizational side. And if you still have to manage your emails and see what the review comments.
Wait. The question is, who does it help? It does help me, right? I'm sure it will help other people. There's one question and then, yeah, down there.
I'm not sure I totally understand the objection to just like a pure cross-posting.
Yeah, but I'm fine with that.
You know, if you reply via email, why not just post that directly on the thread of Forgejo?
I will disagree with the word just. I agree with the sentiment. It's not just. I'm sure that the people who have written Patchwork can tell you that it's a royal pain to do this.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while, and the thing is, like, I, at least myself, quote a little bit of the code and say, in this part of the code, you did this, this, this. Are you going to ignore quotes? And in which case, replying at the bottom just ripples the entire patch. Are you not going to? Then how do you know which part of the code I am talking about? How are you going to decide what context is enough? That's the problem with cross-posting from an email reply to Forgejo.
There are lots and lots of little technical reasons that did not make it possible to do such an automation within the time frame that I had. That does not mean that it cannot be done, but someone needs to pony up the patches, and I don't have the bandwidth for that.
Yeah, so the main issue indeed is email isn't really structured. If we want to do more with email to going to the Forge, we have to be a bit more strict in our emails too, like using approved by tags, for example, because the Forge cannot see, yeah, looks good to me. Oh, that was the approval. Yeah, for the other way around, email users have to change a bit. Sorry.
That's what was being said earlier, though. You have to bring people with you because you're the newcomer.
Yeah.
Hey, some.
Oh, I know. I'm just double down.
I'm sure we could come up with some sort of parsing machinery, but with regard to quoting sections of patches, it's one of the most important parts of patch review over email, and I believe is also something that we've it's been kind of a solved problem on like online forums for quite a while. You can just quote some other post and be able to reply to it that way.
I hear you. I urge you to not add just, because then I will say, well, just send me a patch. It's not a simple problem.
I guess now the question is to the other side as well. We've always been asking, what does a Forge-like system brings? The question is, what is there in the email-like system that we really need to keep, right? The cross thing, so one of the requirements Richie gave was very good. He wants to be able to read everything. He wants to have the archive, and that's great. But the cross thing adds a whole lot of complexity to what we actually want to achieve. And then the question is about what is the value it's bringing? Is it worth the effort, right? So what is the value it's bringing by doing the cross thing? Is it sufficient to just have an archival thing where people can read and everything? Or why do we need the cross thing?
I suppose my idea was that so that we can use the features of Forgejo and allow people who prefer email to still use email. I know that's a bit sort of like the C++ mentality where we just have features for whoever wants them, but it seems like a reasonable solution.
Before you go, yeah.
So if you are like reviewing code on the Forge, you as users, you have to see it on the mailing list. And if you are doing the mailing list review, you should see it in like beautifully in the web. Otherwise, it's not that useful. So that's like mixing things is like complicated.
I will disagree with you.
Well, I agree. Like for my on the email camp, so like this add a lot of complexity, and it's like, why?
I will disagree with you that it is not useful. But I will agree with you that there is an element of complexity to it. Yes. Absolutely. I had to write it, and there is complexity that it takes care of. It's different.
I think one point that I would make is we may need one place where you can see the full audit trail of the discussion, whether that be email or whether that be Forge, and we discuss that. If we want that one place to be Forge and bidirectional communication to happen, that may actually be really difficult. But perhaps there is a middle ground to think about. Email is the one place where all of this conversation is threaded, or you find that for later. Why do I want that? 5 years later, I want to see the discussions on a patch. And I want to go back and see that in one place. I don't want to be switching between Forge and email. That is a genuine use case a lot of us have when we do archaeology of patches.
Yep, I hear you. One of those things that I was saying during the committee meeting was, what if a PR is only resolved if a maintainer says accepted, not accepted, and that generates an email with everything that happened in the Forge along with the decision? Maybe not every project wants that, but it's a possibility. I'm asking you to be creative about this.
So from the Linux kernel standpoint, and this is something I've been a developer for over 2 decades, and I've gotten something that's really good for archaeology work. So one thing is we now have something called lore. I don't know if anyone you're familiar with it, which is,
Thank you.
It's awesome. So we have more arguments about link tags or not, but we have like a link tag in our commits that point to the email thread or the patch where it was accepted. For every version I have, this is where I said don't do the reply to, because that's one way to do it. If I do a version 2, underneath the hashes underneath the signature, where between the patch and the change log, so it doesn't go into git commit, I put in changes since v1 : link to the v1 patch set. When I do v3, changes since v2 link. So I've actually done archaeology where I go, okay, why this change? Why is this here? I find the link, I go there, I'm like, well, there's no discussion, it just pulled in, but it says, here's where v2 is. And it's all in lore, so you just press a button, you're at the next discussion. Press a button, you're at the next discussion. I'm not saying that this is something you have to do, but the workflow works really well in this. So whatever you do, I mean, I strongly suggest following that workflow, because having the links back, and it's just pressing a button on a web browser and it takes you to the next one, and you can read the whole thing.
I think the point I was making was, if I have a discussion on V2 itself, I don't want to go to 2 places to look at how that threading works. I want to see it in one place, whether that be through an archival mechanism on email or through Forgejo. I want that consistency of that information, and I want one place where I go. I don't want to split that, and I don't want to keep track of dates when this conversation happened.
It's just a link, and just press it, it's on a web browser.
Somehow I need that. I need to make sure that at least that happens.
Yes, so I am afraid we have to. Okay, let's pause.
Sorry, I just want like a closing note, because I feel like this has to be said.
Folks,
Sorry.
hold on, please. Hold on, please.
We are having a very fundamental conversation between 2 camps, one with emails, one with a Forge-like system, and we're trying to create a bridge. The whole point of creating the bridge is not that the 2 camps stay on their own side of the bridge. We have to be able to use the bridge to move. So asking that, can we have both bidirectionally happening, both the things equally happening, is a mess. So at the end of the day, we'll have to ask ourselves, are we willing to use the bridge to move? Well, we've already tried the email way, right? We've already tried the email way.
Yeah,
so everybody's already been on one side of the bridge.
Yeah, so as a bridge, we have a mailing list to discuss the Forge, which might be a good way to continue this discussion.
Thank you.